Today is August 20th. We're here at the Zoning Board of Appeals. If you're here for the voting, there is another location within City Hall, and Mariola will direct you there. Otherwise, we're going to begin tonight's hearing. And before we begin tonight's hearing, I just want to go over a little change that has occurred here on the zoning board. In the past, we were a 3-member board. Everything had to be unanimous to approve it, and one dissenter would cause it a denial. We have now changed to a 5-member board, and the difference is if you have the 5 members, a majority will grant it. You can have one denial and it will decline it. Tonight you see 4 members. We can run with a 4-member board, but it has to be unanimous to be a 4-member board. And if one says no, then it's down. No more of the 3 people, 2 or 1. It's been modified by the city, and hopefully it will be more beneficial that we won't be short on members to try to fill a case or a meeting night. If we can't hold the meeting because of lack of members, then we'll have to reschedule going forward. But that was the same with the 3-member board that we had before. So we're going to go forward tonight. We have a 4-member board. To my left, David Antea, he's an alternate sitting in. To my immediate right is Mel Cornett, full member, and a new member,
Lori Wida.
Lori Wida, a new full member. So this will be her first meeting.
Inaugural meeting.
Then my next rule is if you have a cell phone and it's on, please silence it so we won't be interrupted. Okay? So now we're going to go over some of how the rules work here, what we follow. In Gardner, 3 members of the board, 4 or 5 members of the Board of Appeals must be present to conduct a legal hearing. Applications will normally be heard in the sequence in which they appeared in the public notice. All hearings shall be open to the public, and no person shall be excluded unless he or she is considered to be a hindrance to the workings of the board. The applicant may appear on his or her own behalf or be represented by agent or attorney. The applicant or his or her representative shall present the case to the board. Representatives of the city shall be heard. Abutters to the property present shall be heard. And those in opposition to the application will be heard. The board must render its decision regarding variance request within 100 days after the application was duly filed in the office of the city clerk. The board regarding special permits must conduct a public hearing within 65 days after the application was duly filed in the office of the city clerk. The board must render a decision regarding special permit within 90 days after the closing of the public hearing. All 3 members of the board must vote in favor, either 4 members or 5 members of the board must vote in favor of the variance or special permit for it to be granted and approved. The right to appeal the decision of this board is provided for in Chapter 48 of the Zoning Act. The information is available in the office of the city clerk. No variance or special permit or any extension, modification, or renewal thereof shall take effect until notification from the city clerk that 20 days have elapsed and the decision has been filed in that office and no appeals have been filed and is recorded in the registry of deeds for the county or district. The board requests that each person identify himself or herself is to name and address before addressing the board. I've already introduced the board members for tonight, so we'll get started. In the first case, also it's the meeting is going to be taped and videotaped. Does anybody object to the taping or videotaping? For the record, no objections. Thank you, Dave. Okay, the first case this evening is that of Doris LaPrade, 132 Oak Street. It's for a variance to replace a curb cut Either way, sir, if that's comfortable, as long as we can hear, we'll let you know if they hear it, it's tough.
I don't think you'll have a problem.
Okay. It's to replace a curb cut at 132 Oak Street. It originally was there, the city did work in the streets, paving, sidewalks, etc., and they covered up the driveway entrance, the curb cuts. There are 2 curb cuts on that property, and if anybody knows Oak Street and 132, those are the 3 or 4 family dwellings that the lots, if they contain 5,000 square feet, those are big lots. So I'm going to turn it over to the representative. I know Doris will not be presenting tonight, but her attorney, Keith Glennie, from LaFortune, Oldak, and Glennie.
Thank you. Ms. LaPrad's son, Harvey LaPrad, is here as well. You summed up the situation pretty well. The pre-existing curb cut was at a second driveway. This premises had 2 existing driveways. The driveway that's at issue, as you look at the premises from the street, is on the right. We'll consider that to be the driveway in question, is the right driveway. That was put in the mid-1950s. It was a gravel driveway, 24 feet wide and about 18 feet deep. The left driveway was put in sometime in the early 1980s. That is a paved driveway, which is 10 by 30. In 2019, Oak Street was repaved. And when they repaved Oak Street, they put sidewalks in. Curb cuts were put in for both driveways. It was a curb cut stretched all the way in front of his house. So the curb cut was there. So they replaced the curb cut, both curb cuts, if you will, that were in existence. In 2021, the sidewalks were removed and replaced. When they did that, they put the curbing into the driveway on the right. The LaPrads reached out to the city highway department to replace those curb cuts. That was unsuccessful. They applied for a permit to replace the curb cuts, which was denied, which brings us here tonight. The argument is, as we put in our letter, that this was a pre-existing condition, even though it's pre-existing non-conforming, if you will. Why they put the curbings there really hasn't been explained. The city's position is that, I guess, that you're supposed to have 2 driveways, but those driveways have been there forever. We provided pictures with our packet. I do have a better picture if you want to see it. If not, that's fine. That shows what the driveway was before.
When did you say the driveways, the original driveways were put in?
The driveway in question was put in the 1950s,
50s?
and the left driveway was put in the early 80s. So 90 years and 40 plus years for the 2 driveways. So this shows what this driveway looked like for years.
So the second driveway was put in post zoning? The zoning came in?
The left driveway was
The
put
left
in
driveway.
post zoning, yep.
Did the DPW give any reason why they would not approve?
What I understand is the reasoning was that they couldn't have a second driveway.
Because it didn't meet the 200 foot?
Based on the frontage. Correct. And so,
However, if Oak Street had not been repaved, new sidewalks, that driveway would still be in existence today.
I would suggest if they hadn't redone the new sidewalks with newer sidewalks, that driveway would be in existence today, because they put the curb cut in 2019. Yes.
So that was just decision at the time of the new sidewalks to put them in and eliminate that second driveway.
Correct.
Now, in 2019, they actually put in both curb cuts, and they did the sidewalks?
Yes, they did. And we also have a picture.
If I could, it was a 65-foot curb cut,
Give your name.
including the neighbors. I'm sorry, Harville Pratt.
Name and address.
Harville Pratt, Eastwood Circle. I'm here for my mother. with
Okay,
attorney
thank
money.
you. You can
They put in a
continue.
65-foot curb cut from the left-hand side of the house all the way through the neighbor's driveway, because they're all driveways. It is now broken up by curb.
How much of the right of way is going to be taken up by the driveway?
The right-of-way is actually the driveway. The right-of-way sits where the driveway is.
And 148 Oak Street, is anybody here from there? Or is the neighbor good with the right of way being?
My understanding is that the neighbor was actually much chagrined that they put the curbing in. To my understanding, they have no objection. In fact, had he been home when they put the curbing, it was stated that they would have stopped.
Well, I know I'm very familiar with the Oak Street and the situations, because my godmother lived in the first three-decker on Oak Street on the right-hand side.
Oh,
And there is a lack of space.
yes. Especially with the two-family.
Right.
Yes.
And that was a three, and it made it very hard for parking, traffic in and out, to the rear of the property, et cetera.
This picture shows what the curb cut was in 2019 when we first did the sidewalk.
Look at that.
Okay,
Yep.
you have it now?
Okay. Well, there's three conditions for variance under the zoning.
Yes.
If you want to briefly address those.
Well, this certainly doesn't derogate from the intent of the bylaw, because most of the houses here have these kinds of driveways, and this has been in existence for quite a long time. Because of the way this driveway sits, the other driveway sits, you can't park cars front to back. And so, because of the depth of that newer driveway, if you will, it really inhibits the amount of cars that your bylaw, I would think, anticipates being able to be parked in the type of driveway that your bylaw allows.
Does it extend to the rear of the house?
No, it's only in the front of the house.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead. You continue.
And it's a two-family, so it's a short distance from the roadway, creates a substantial hardship. As we talked about, there's two vehicles can't park front to back, limiting parking to only two vehicles. It doesn't cause a detriment to the public good. It doesn't create any kind of safety hazard, and we already talked about it doesn't derogate from the intent of the bylaw.
All right, I'm going to go through them and see if there's anyone who speaks for now. But first, I'll have some of my members have any questions of Mr. Glennie at this time.
They do not?
No?
Thank you.
Okay, are there any representatives of the city to speak regarding this application? Any representative of the city to speak regarding this application? For the record, no representatives. Are there any abutters who would like to speak in favor of this application? Any abutters to speak in favor of this application? For the record, no abutters to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? For the record, no opposition. Board members, any questions or anything at this point?
No?
No.
Okay, I'm going to read the correspondence. It is from Robert Oliver, sent Wednesday, June 12, 2024, to Tom Zupa, subject 132 Oak Street, Gardner, driveway variance. Hi, Tom. I have gone over this variance application and familiar with the history on it. Should the ZBA vote to approve a second driveway, the applicant will need to submit a driveway permit application along with the required plan an applicable decision of the board. A new curb cut must conform to the DPW construction specifications for concrete sidewalk and ramps. Please let me know if you have any questions or need additional information. Regards, Robert Oliver, City Engineer, City of Gardner. Counselor, I'm going to ask just a question. This has a couple of conditions in the response from Mr. Oliver regarding the application, required plan, and will our decision, if we vote in favor, does that pose an issue to the applicant?
I don't think it will. I think his contractor would be able to supply whatever the city needs. I don't, unless the city's going to be somehow.
I think the biggest thing in there would be the required plan. And if there are requirements, you can speak either with Tom or through the city engineer's office, and he'll lay it out for you.
Yes, I think the contractor will be able to work with the city for whatever is needed.
Okay. So, and no questions are said from the board?
No.
I'd like to move forward for the decision on this if possible. Okay. All set, Mel?
Also,
Okay. All those in favor of granting the variance for the second driveway for Mrs. LaPrade on 132 Oak Street? Say aye.
aye.
I just had a question. Can I ask a question?
Go.
Yeah, all I ask is, were you gonna include these as the conditions?
Though, I mean, they aren't really conditions, they're requirements by the city.
Okay.
There would not be a zoning condition.
All right.
Okay, I'll ask again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. Variance granted.
Thank you.
I'll just go over, because we have 14 days to write the decision. Then once you get it, it will be time-stamped. Technically, you're not supposed to start any construction, etc., until the 20 days, and you're notified by the city clerk's office that no appeals have been filed, etc., and then you can begin and go forward. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to put this in the file?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next case,
Want me to give it to Mary Ellen? Want me to give it to Mary Ellen?
thank you. The next case is that of Roy Koppinen. Okay, it's on, well, his address is 10 Stearns Road, Ringe. And it's for the property located at 68 Acadia Road, Gardner. Is Mr. Koppinen or agent or attorney here?
Good evening, Paul Grazowitz, Graz Engineering, the surveyor and engineer
Okay.
for the applicant.
I do have some questions. I'm going to let you do the presentation because I've got definitely some comments to make on this very shortly. So I'll let you do the introductory.
Basically, Roy has been trying to put a structure back on the subject property. There was a mobile home there. It had been removed. The first step we made was we went to conservation. Conservation has a 60-foot no structure zone. the old structure violated current setbacks as well as the wetland setback. So we had proposed initially to stay within the same footprint with a different shape. And as the meetings with conservation went on, we gave them, I think we gave them actually maybe 5 different options. Moving the structure around on the lot. And finally, and I'm sorry, but Roy filled out the application, so I'm not sure what the plan that you have attached to that application is. If it's for a house or a...
House.
Okay. Roy, would you like to submit this one instead?
The other one is,
Mobile home.
yeah, the other one.
So what I'd like to do is, the application to the ZBA was submitted, I think, before we even went to conservation or right at the same time. And due to the feedback we received from conservation, even though the lot's already been altered, and we weren't getting any closer to the wetland, we thought it would be in the best interest, at least of the Conservation Commission, which, by the way, their hearing is still open, it's been continued, to allow us time to come to you. I'd like to go back with the 2-bedroom mobile home, but move it out of the 60-foot and this configuration will, now that plan will show you the former mobile home and the current proposed mobile home, which is the same size. It's just closer to the road. So this one does not meet front setback. It does not meet the side setbacks, but it does meet the 60-foot. So what he would like to do is apply for the relief on the setbacks. We're gaining the 60-foot setback, but everything's closer to the road. There's enough room here. It's the intent, you know, as far as the requirements for variance, we're trying to meet the intent of the bylaw. Unfortunately, we have two separate issues, one being conservation, one being your normal dimensional setbacks that make this, will make it impossible, basically, to put a structure on there without violating one or both. So we're looking for relief on the front and side setback.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is the mobile home that was there still there?
No,
That's been removed?
that's been removed. I'm not sure when that was removed.
That was about 9 months ago, it was down.
Yeah.
Does Gardner not have a certain amount of time that they can rebuild on the same footprint?
2 years.
They can rebuild, but the footprint is in a no-build zone.
Pre-existing non-conforming?
That decision was not made.
Okay.
The problem we have here is the Conservation Commission is pushing everything forward. That's outside of the realm.
Okay.
I do have a question on the former structure. Was it a mobile home, manufactured home, or was it a, I'll call it a stick home?
Mobile home.
Mobile?
Yes. Just based on, we have an old plan that was done, it was basically a plot plan done when it was there. And that's what we based our actual former structure location on, the old plot plan.
Hmm. Right, because this further reduces the setbacks.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you went from 21 feet to 12 now.
Right.
Pardon me?
You've gone from 21 foot setback
Yeah.
to a 12-foot setback now, that is closest from one corner.
There is enough room on the right side there to, you know, get a vehicle. We kind of The proposed structure is a little cockeyed with the road, just to gain some space there.
But you're also violating both side setbacks.
Yes. The former structure did also.
Have you made the building commissioner aware that you're substituting the structure to this mobile home here?
Right, I wrote a letter, formal intent to Tom's about mobile home instead of the actual house.
And did you get a response?
Yes, I did.
And what was the response? As many times we do not get these communications that may go back and forth between an applicant and the commissioner.
Bear with me a minute, I'll find it.
Well, my concern here is the original application was talking about putting a structure on the property located in, or partially in a no-build zone. That's what really got published in the paper. By moving this to a new structure, not in a no zone, it has not been published in the paper. Any interested parties have not seen this or heard of it. So that's the issue that I'm looking at, because you could have abutters that are not in agreement with this, but they don't know anything about the change of the location.
I understand.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. In my opinion, there's a couple of options that I feel are appropriate here. The first option is probably not the best, is to withdraw your application. Okay, and that would be on the house that's in existence or was in existence. The second one was withdraw your application without prejudice. And the difference between the two is the first one is permanent for 2 years. The second one, you have the option to reapplying immediately with your new set of plans, etc. So I think, really to me, those are the two options, and I ask my members if you sort of agree with me.
No, I agree.
Okay. Because the thing is, with the 14-day publication in the newspaper or the postings, it allows any abutters or any interested parties to form an opinion of yay or nay. This will not allow them to do that if we vote on it, because they don't know. So I'm proposing that you have a discussion with your client and look at one of those two options. Remember, without straight withdrawal, you would not be able to apply for 2 years.
Okay.
Without prejudice, you could start tomorrow on a brand new application and probably be in the September meeting. Would you like to have a couple of minutes with your client?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
Are you going to mention anything about the charge if it's in the
Well, for this opportunity to speak with somebody from conservation,
The what?
to speak with somebody in conservation, because really, the 2-year, the best place for it is where it was.
I know. But that, sir?
Option B, the withdrawal without prejudice, would be the most sensible thing to do.
Right.
So you're requesting to withdraw the original case without prejudice?
Yes.
And like I said, you could start an application tomorrow and come in with your new dimensions, your new drawings, etc. Okay? Do I hear a motion to allow the application?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of allowing the application to withdraw without prejudice?
Aye.
Okay. It's approved without prejudice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I found that letter from the building commissioner, Tom, what that, could we read that now, or is that too late? What his response
application.
Yes.
Let it go, are we okay with them reading it? Did you say you're okay with them reading it? Or-
Oh, I think it should be included in this
Included in the
application
packet.
package. Any correspondence.
I agree with you. You may. And I want to let you read this so it gets in the record of what happened tonight. You can come up, please.
My name is Therese Copeland. I'm the wife of Roy Copeland. So this is what Tom Zupper wrote. Zoning determination. Attention Roy Copeland, in response to your submitted request referenced below, the above referenced property is located in the single-family residential zoning district, R1. Put new mobile home, 14 feet by 56 feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bath on property. The above referenced property lacks the 100 feet of frontage required in the single-family residential zoning district. As outlined in section 675-420, non-conforming uses and structures, subsection C4A to Z, a manufactured home may be placed in the same location not to exceed the existing footprint as the existing or previous manufactured home, provided the reconstruction after catastrophe or demolition is within the required 2-year time frame. Please see below for the applicable section of the zoning ordinance. Should you not be able to comply with the setbacks or existing location requirements, a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals will need to be applied for and approved prior to demolition of the existing manufactured home. And then there's the, it's references to the different, sorry, my English is not
That's
my mother
okay.
tongue.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that, to me, the biggest thing here is the location is not the same location. It's being moved.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then this is a different plan than Mr. Zupa saw.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, he's seen the plan now for the mobile home that we have now. So he's seen that.
Yep.
And so that's what he's,
but that's not what the amendment that your representative said, no, we're gonna move the home forward.
yeah.
So you've changed the location. And we've seen in the past where they're gonna replace something, but it goes right back into the spot. And now you're moving it forward on this set of plans. We think, that's my feeling is, and I think the board's decision is start a new application as soon as you can, if you choose to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
And get it drawn exactly where it is, the dimensions are pretty, I think they're there for your new drawing. In sides and rear setback, front setback, and go forward with that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mr. DeMayo, the decision's already been made on this case, so we're not soliciting any more information. The decision is made. They know what they have to do.
Well, I actually came to support them tonight with a stick structure.
And I'm sure they appreciate it, but like I said, the decision's been made, we take no more information.
I know, but...
Okay, the next case before the board. Okay. I'll call it Gardner Holding Group LLC, and this is Jonathan Bombaci, and he's going to be represented by counsel. This is not a case that we're going to render a decision on tonight. This is a finding or information search, call it what you want, because we granted a special permit to 163, 165 Pine Street, Jonathan Bombaci and Gardner Holding, February 24th, 2022. So we're 2 years plus into it. And there was certain conditions in there that no activity has taken place. There are issues with the building commissioner and the building inspector's office in terms of occupancy permits, inspections, et cetera, that according to the building commissioner's office have not been cleared. They're still outstanding. So really what we're looking at this tonight is a status update of where we are and if there's a plan to rectify all the issues. And if we can get that, we would appreciate that.
Good evening, board members. Welcome to board member. Attorney Christine Tree Fitchburg for the management company for the permit holder. I have a PowerPoint, so I thought I would plug in. And it's going to be easiest to manage that from here if you don't mind me not standing at the podium.
It's fine with us.
I also want to ask, last night I had forwarded a letter. I'm not sure whether it got to all of the board members. I had brought copies for everybody that hopefully lays out the timeline and answers the questions. A copy. Everyone.
There's more to it than this.
And with me is Jonathan Bombachi.
And I guess the short answer is, yes, we have a plan, and we're sorry it's taking so long.
Please state name and address.
John Babachi, 88 Main Street.
And Attorney Tree,
Yes, sir.
I'll just state, I did reference outstanding inspections that have not happened.
Yes.
The occupancy permit in the file, and Mr. Zuko submitted that, but I'm not going to address all those individually because the occupancy permit and the inspections fall under the purview of the building commissioner's office. But we just packaged it together with the condition, et cetera, with the special permit to obtain a status report. So we know where it is.
So what I have done within that letter and then tried to visually display up here so we can all look at it is address what are the existing conditions, what is the plan to meet them, and in the letter provide you a little bit more detailed update and explanation. If you want me to keep this brief, I will keep it brief. If you would like us to go into more detail, please let me know. I'd be happy to do so. So I just wanted to first remember that this is where we started with this building after fire, and the building was bought and renovated under this special permit. This is a winter picture, but just to give you some representation of the improvement in the structure that has occurred since special permit was granted. So this is a building that's been renovated, improved, and prepared for occupancy and is currently occupied. There are 8 dwelling units in there. That's provided substantial housing to the city, and that was recognized by this board when it granted the special permit in 2022.
Now, are all the units currently rented?
They are currently occupied and ready. And in fact, the parking area was constructed, it was just constructed in the wrong place.
So the temporary occupancy permit that I have in my packet says 2 apartments.
It does, it does. So there are, again, some building code issues, and that's really final inspections that need to be amended. So the violation letter was issued by the building commissioner on, I believe, Thursday and received yesterday on Monday by the permit holder. They've drafted the applications to have those temporaries, that temporary certificate of occupancy and the annual inspections done. There are some construction control documents that are needed to complete the application. 30 days was given on that letter for compliance. So we certainly believe as far as having the inspections done to get those temporary certificates, that can be done within that period of time.
No, within those concerns for the building commissioner, does it highlight the fact that there's inadequate parking for those 8 units?
The fact that there's inadequate parking and that it doesn't meet the 11 spaces specified within the special permit is going to prevent a permanent certificate of occupancy from issuing.
Oh, I
It does
understand
not
that.
prevent a temporary certificate of occupancy from issuing. As the wall ended up, and I drove my car down in there to kind of test this out, I believe that we can get 6 and 1. So I think there are 7 in the back. There was the buddy parking on the side. So there are at least 8 parking spaces
Now,
available.
on the right, you're talking the buddy parking on the right.
The buddy parking spaces that were approved on the right.
Yes, and I assume you'll address later on by those 2 units, at least that buddy parking. I just happened to drive by one of the snowstorms, and there was a couple of days where it was not plowed. There was no way anyone could park in there. And I assume that will be addressed in the future, so there'd be adherence,
Yes.
because that was part of the
Agreed.
decision from the very beginning.
Mhm. So that is within the letter, so it's one of the 3 conditions, and it's an ongoing condition. It's a condition that, we're not going to come to a resolution on because it has to always be followed.
Understand?
Every snowstorm, there's an opportunity for it to be missed. What we have provided is a letter from Kendall Realty, I believe it is, that is responsible for the maintenance, including snow plowing on this property and snow removal. At some points during the meetings in the past that I've gone back and watched, so hopefully I'm up to speed with all of you, they did show that it's possible to put 2 snow plows side by side going up and down the driveway at the same time. The buddy parking is a separate parking area on the right, so that just needs to be pushed
You're not going
back.
to put 2 side by side over there.
No. In fact, going through, I see that after it was discovered that the wall was built in the wrong place,
Yes.
the permit holder did make a number of attempts to try to modify the parking plan before the board. So there were 2 variance applications that were put in. First one was heard in January and March of '23 and was withdrawn. And just to move forward, this is the approved plan with the complete parking. This is the first version that was suggested under that variance that was withdrawn without prejudice. A second attempt was made here that was heard in May, June, and July of 2023 and was denied by the board. So I just want to say there was a substantial attempt to try to address the issue that was created by the incorrect wall placement. Then there was a period of time where there was no contact with the city. That's what happened. After these failed, the permit holder was looking at litigation with a contractor who installed the wall substantially incorrectly. And I'm not working on that litigation. It's my understanding that the notice of violation was needed to really move that forward against that contractor. That's now been issued by the building commissioner. But I think given the time that has gone by, there's certainly not any suggestion by the permit holder that they're going to wait for the litigation to resolve in order to move forward. I've looked at it and I've thought that maybe there's a better design for the parking plan, but at this point, there is a special permit, there's an approved plan, so we're just moving forward to construct the parking to the approved plan. And it's just a matter of time to get there.
So you're suggesting that you're moving forward with all the other corrections, litigation for the parking, looking for a temporary, you'll work with the building commissioner until that can be resolved. You're looking for temporary occupancy for the 8 units.
Yes, so it's my understanding we'll need the temporary occupancy for the 8 units. There is an annual inspection under the building code for multifamily residences. I'm going to say that I know that in numerous communities that is not enforced at all by the building departments, and I think this is a new initiative of Commissioner Zupa, and I think it's a good idea. I think it'll result in more consistent and better housing for tenants. But it is a newer thing that's kind of being moved forward. Regardless, we'll just have both inspections at the same time. So it's just that the final certificate of occupancy can't be issued until the special permit is satisfied. So looking at how we're going to do this, again, at the past meetings, there was discussion of 4 conditions to be satisfied. And I will say that when I looked at the permit, there were only 3 conditions. So I've treated, completion of the parking area to plan as a 4th condition. It was part of what was submitted to the board. And so I started off by making a list of the completion steps from now to completion of the parking, the proposed timeline. This doesn't show up very well, I'm sorry, I'm a projector for you guys, but it is printed out in that letter, just as you see it here. So we start out, we need a design firm to produce a stamp plan for the extension of the engineered supporting wall. Mackenzie Engineering has been engaged to do that work. There is a letter confirming that engagement within your packet, and I'll which is right here. And what they say within that letter is that, and let me just say that they were retained on about July 8th, when I look back at the correspondence. And this letter, which we obtained yesterday, says that the expected completion date of the initial plan is September the 13th. Okay? We need that plan in order to move the whole rest of the piece forward. So the receipt of that plan is really the first step that we need to accomplish. Once that plan is received, we're going to need to send it to both the building department and engineering for review and make any changes that are requested, but get approval. I've estimated 14 to 30 days. Obviously, with any of these timelines, if the time is shorter, that's great, because then, we can get the next step done sooner. But there are some places, like with city review, that we don't really have control over the timing of that process. We can submit, we don't know when the city will respond, and then if the engineer has to revise, the engineer will have some time for that. After that, once that finalized plan is received, then we can go ahead and solicit and obtain a contractor. Obviously, we're not using the same contractor that constructed the wall previously. So we have contacted Bardsley Renovations and Elite Stoneworks, but they've both stated that they need the final plan to quote the job. It's just the way that this happens. Yep. So we've estimated 30 to 45 days. As far as financing for the cost of this project, it's going to be like between 30 and 50, and I believe that in general, the company is ready and able to proceed with the financing for the contract as needed, right? Yeah. So, once the contract is finalized, we'll need some time to be added to schedule. Hopefully, not too much. But again, it's just one of those things that we're not completely in control of.
Councilor, I'd like to ask, with your construction or estimated time, have you built in any flex time, like when normal construction and everything, okay, we're gonna plan that it might be an extra 2 months because of materials, labor, and weather?
So I've tried to build that into the next item, which is actual construction going on at 60 to 120 days. So there's a few variables, obviously. Contractor and labor availability, materials availability, and weather. So I know there's kind of an opposition to weather being an obstacle here, And I don't, in any of the steps that I'm outlining, this is not intended to be an excuse to delay the project for the contractor. It's just that things happen along the way that we don't have control over. What I will say is, once this construction begins, that parking area will not be usable by the residents for parking because the equipment needs to be there, the materials need to be there. Even if you could maybe park one car in there when construction wasn't going on, it's not going to be usable. So I'm raising the issue, but not asking in any way that we come to a decision, because it really depends on when construction does start, whether or not construction should be begun if we're going into the winter period. Now, Gardner has had warmer winters, so it might be that we can construct through December. And if we can construct this parking lot to the point where the guardrails are up, but it's not yet paved, what we can do is lay down some gravel and stone dust and use it as a parking area during the winter in that fashion. It's going to be paved with asphalt when it's finished and then striped and lined. But those things can't happen when the minimum temperature is under 50 degrees or heavy precipitation. So if we are not ready to pave by November, it's likely that the paving is not going to occur until April.
And we understand that.
Yeah.
I think if your interim plan is to stone dust it or crush macadam or something,
Mm-hmm.
that it's maybe not a total impervious base, but not sand, dirt, it turns to mud, etc.
Right.
So I think it's an interim step, and you're working towards it. So I think I'll just inject this if you don't mind. I was going to wait till the end, but when you said, we might not be able to do this, the board here, the board here, since this was issued 2 years ago and nothing has really happened, we would like a monthly update from you or Mr. Lombachi. We have your master file here.
Mm-hmm.
A monthly update of saying, hypothetically, all the inspections completed as of, September 30th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Construction, the construction has started, retaining fence put up, not macadam, but, sand, stone dust, down, delayed until, so we know what your plan is, but we also can monitor what's happening, and not like another year goes by and says, okay, we're gonna start. We want a monthly report of, like a report card, here we come.
Agreed. I think that would be a great way to kind of monitor. And that way, if there is any of those events that you raised, and then we can say, look, we're hitting this, we're going to have an extension over here.
Yeah, and then we'll know about it. It's something that we don't have to wait 6 months to find out, we couldn't pour, for whatever reason. Now, to me, that's 6 months lost of knowing what's happening.
Yes. Yeah.
One additional thing before you move on too far. During all this construction, regardless of the weather is just going to compound the problem. The concern that I have is, do you have a plan to support parking during that time frame? Because come November, December, even November, Gardner's been known to have a few storms in October or prior to. And if you're in construction back there and you're closing the parking lot, where are those cars going to go?
So, obviously during the weather, on-street parking. You might remember from some of the prior variance applications, there was a thought that we could have off-street parking at another owned location. I think If you could remind me of the address.
Washington
Pine
Street.
Not Pine Street.
Washington
Washington
Street.
Washington. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, the problem with Washington Street was if you walk it, it's between 3/10 and a half a mile.
Mhm.
People tend to debate which one it is, but I know it's at least 3/10. And in the middle of a snowstorm, I'm not sure how many people you're gonna get to walk up and down
Mhm.
what is a significant hill.
Mhm.
And I know that was our concern then. And, I mean, I understand that it is a viable option to some extent, but is it really? Are you gonna get, how are you gonna enforce people doing that?
It's certainly not, as the board found last time, a convenient option, as well as the public parking that is around the corner. There is a public parking lot.
On the corner, behind,
It's the West Street? Is it
Yeah.
the West Street lot? Yes.
But I'd also say like, the residents rarely use the parking spots. I mean, even in the winter, not all of the residents have cars. Like, there's not, the residents have never complained about the parking at the property, like, since it's been occupied.
I guess I'll just interject here, Mel, is we're not holding you to make a decision tonight of where you're gonna park them. But his point is a great point. That was discussed when you tried to apply for the modification, and we denied that. So I think you've got some time here. You can develop your plan A and B. You may want to have conversations with the city, because they have a parking garage, et cetera. It's almost probably shorter to work from 163 Pine down, down to Pine Street, almost at Central Street. Because down in there, there's parking. You also have on Derby Drive, there could be some parking. And conversations with the city is an interim, not a permanent, because residents park there and others, but as a stopgap measure. But I understand Mr. Cornett is exactly right. Not jump back to it, because we've gone to 2 years here that nothing has happened, and now the parking surfaces with winter company. That could have been cured back then.
It could have.
So I think there's options. We'll give you some time to come up with plan A, B, and how many ever plans you need. But we would like that resolved, and keeping in mind the point of the tenants. I don't know the age of the tenants. I don't know if they have children or not. But for the safety of those people having to go out in the storm, climb Washington Street, come back down, keep that in mind, for the benefit of the tenants.
Absolutely agreed. To move forward with construction in the winter and have alternate parking arrangements, it's going to be an imperfect solution, and it's going to be away from the property. Which, again, leads us to look at, if we are that close, should we delay until the spring? Again, does not need to be resolved right now, but if we are at that point, certainly we're going to be back before the board before we break ground on construction. And I will address that point with the board at that time.
It should be part of the plan.
Yeah.
That's really the plan.
So I'll just make this point. We're here on the 20th of August. As I said to the prior applicant, you can start your new application tomorrow. You can start looking at resolution of winter parking tomorrow. So you've got time. We're not dropping it on November 15th. It's August, September, and October, probably great months for parking. And then, of course, the city will put in no on-street parking, and then that becomes even
We have a snow
more
emergency.
of a problem. So I think starting as soon as you can with somebody, I think it would be beneficial to the applicant and especially the tenants.
Appreciate the comments, and we'll work on that alternative parking plan.
Thank you.
So, again, this list of items is in your package, takes you through construction. We project that the delay is going to be between completion of construction and paving And then paving and striping would occur if delayed in April to May, because that's when the temperature is hopefully a little warmer. And then after that is complete, there's going to be an as-built plan that needs to be drawn that is already set to be done by Mackenzie Engineering again. That needs to be submitted to the city and approved as an as-built plan. That should bring this process to completion.
And the bottom line is the plan right now is around June 16th
For total
for
completion,
total completion.
yes.
And what is the end of the 3 years on this special permit?
So that would
It's got
go.
to be pushing that pretty close.
Yes, but just a reminder on the time limit for a special permit. When there has been a substantial use of the relief granted within the special permit, the special permit is not subject to lapse. There are many cases that focus on the issue of what does substantial use mean.
There you go.
Some cases, it's the pulling of a building permit. Some cases, it's the completion of the construction. I have a very frustrating case before me that has been going on for 17 years. But, and hopefully we will never, ever get to that point here. The fact that we will hit the 3-year mark in February of 2025, as long as there is substantial use made of this permit. Certainly the filing of the building permit and the breaking of ground on this new wall would definitively constitute that substantial use. But I will also say that this special permit was for the multifamily use and contained a reduction in parking. And the multifamily use, the construction has been completed except for inspection. So, not that I ever want to enter into that argument with this board or any other, but that is the way that we would address that issue if the issue of lapse were
I
raised.
understand, but at the same time, one can debate the effort that was made to comply with the original conditions.
Yes,
And that's why you're here today.
yes. Sometimes I will see decisions where a board, as any board may be, is concerned about the time to completion of the project, that there will be a condition added that there is a time to completion or the special permit is subject to revocation. The board may in future cases consider that issue when it's addressing a larger project that it wants to see completed. So I make that suggestion as well to the board.
Well, I think, the board, we would be reasonable depending on what we consider reasonable activity by the applicant. If there's foot dragging, no. If there's a concerted effort made to address the issues, I think your monthly report card is going to tell us what's happening, how we're doing. And I mean, from my prior working career, we always had a percentage of completion report. If you want to formulate one, and I know you'll come up completed 100%. We'll know that when Mr. Zupa goes out and checks. But if things are going, then I think the driveway and the paving is going to be the biggest issue. Mark it, 45% complete. Here's what's happening. By December 15th, we'll be 65% complete. So it's keeping us, the board informed what happens, what is happening, what effort is being made. And we can monitor it, or I can request Tom to monitor it, and he'll say, it's only a third complete, they told me he's 65. Now we have an issue. So I think, we're trying to work with the applicant to get this done, because I think it's very beneficial, as I said, to the tenants in the city, and for their safety. But I think, I would like to see that scorecard, if you want to call it a report card, come in, it keeps us abreast. You know, we don't have to call meetings to go out and check it and things like that. We've worked very well together, so I don't really have an issue. But if there is an issue that comes up in terms of nature not cooperating or materials are not cooperating, then let's talk about it and see how we're gonna handle that. You know, and so I think if it worked good on this side, it'd be good on this side.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. What you see on the screen is just a visual of the spreadsheet that is within your packet. And what I've tried to do here is show the milestone number, because milestones were one of the things requested, with the description, the estimated time it will take to complete it, the estimated completion date based off that timeline, and then the corresponding ZBA meeting date at which we would be expected to show that this had been done. I had intended to use this as kind of a report card to show progress as we went along. That extends through there, is the end date. And so with that, that's the projected completion of the wall.
Yeah. I mean, you could put another couple columns on here and have completed to date.
Will do.
You know, and then it makes it pretty simple. I would like to also say, where a number of these issues, as I stated earlier, not under the purview of the zoning board. You know, the occupancy permit, et cetera, the inspections. But they're part of the whole package. And as they're completed, if you, I don't want to age myself, but say carbon copy us something, that, so we know, and then when we see the report card, and we know that Tom has taken care of it from there. You know, so it just lets us know that, you know, efforts being made on the other issues that are out there.
Will do.
Okay.
And the building commissioner has received this?
I did, at the same time, email that letter to him in addition last week. I've spoken to the building commissioner. I gave him the list of items on the wall for any comment. I haven't received any comment back, but the building commissioner is a busy guy. So I haven't received any comment on that. If we do receive some comment on there, either items missing or items unnecessary on here, then we'll be responsive to that and update the spreadsheet. So.
Yeah, I think the board, if something pops up, and even with his issues, if you just CC us, you know, so we are aware that something else will come up and some issue has arisen, we can just keep tabs on it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I wanted to address the three very specific conditions. Condition 1 is that there must be one parking space dedicated to each apartment and shall be appropriately delineated. So as I discussed, there are at least 8 off-street spaces right now. This is not going to be satisfied until we have 11 spaces available. If the board thinks it would be helpful, we can certainly, you know, do some spray paint and temporarily stripe the ones in the back, but it will be temporary until construction starts. We did also include, and this is in your packages, a copy of the letter to the tenants, just reminding them about the parking system. Is there a decal system with Simplified? Where the residents are going to be issued a decal for their car?
Yeah,
Park?
yeah.
Okay. So there's a decal system so that the residents would be able to park and be the sole persons parking there. Condition 2 was that the buddy parking be marked and be for one apartment. So the proposed resolution is to install the sign identifying that the buddy parking spaces are reserved, and as well as the letter to the tenants reminding them of that. We propose that there be a simple 1x2 sign just stating buddy parking for Unit 1, very simple.
And both of them will be for Unit 1,
Yes, both of them will be for Unit 1.
whatever you use.
Yeah, that's the unit right in the center.
So we anticipate this should be completed by the next meeting in September. It's just going to be the manufacturing of the sign and then the installation that takes time there. So, and then finally was the snow storage. As I said, that's an ongoing condition, and you have the letter from Candor Realty that they are responsible for removal, and a reminder from the board that that didn't always occur last year. So I think it's okay.
Well, I'm
And that's all
very
I have.
familiar with McKinsey Engineering. They're a top-notch engineering company. Yeah, so I'm very happy to see, that they're gonna be involved in this.
I will say that the building commissioner was happy to hear of their involvement as well. Quality firms are busy, so I understand the timing, and hopefully by the time the September meeting rolls around, we'll have that plan in hand. So that was the projection from McKenzie.
Okay, there will be another member sitting in September, because I will be away on the West Coast, so I won't be able to make that meeting. And so I'm not sure who's gonna sit in at this point, but, oh, yes, Lori will be here.
Glad I showed up, because if I didn't show up, I might have got voted into something.
My point is, it's still not a case, even in September, it's a status update, so even since nobody will be voting at that time on anything, it's more of information gathering that person will take. And if there is any written correspondence going out, make sure Mariella gets it, and she can forward it to me, so I can stay abreast to it.
Okay, we'll make sure to do that. I just want to let the board know that I will not be here at the time of the October meeting because I will be on the southerly coast. So what might be at that meeting is a written communication. I would love to appear remotely with the board, but I know that's no longer an option, which is unfortunate.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll just ask my members, Mel's already asked a number of questions, if you have any, I'll call them clarification questions, of Christine, Attorney Tree.
I believe you've answered the questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
For the buddy parking on the right side of the building, part of what was mentioned was there's going to be some type of barrier there, so when they buddy park, they weren't going to continue sliding right down. Is that in the plan?
Yeah, part of the construction company that we're getting the estimate for will be to put some fill there to level it out a little bit, and also put a barrier in.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'd hate to have them slide down through by where the library people are going to be walking.
They really gather speed by that point in time.
Okay, thanks, Christine.
thank you. Any more questions? Okay. All right.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for the presentation. Happy to see that we're going to be moving forward. And I guess we'll get the horses in the corral yet. We'll get it done.
Look forward to seeing the board at the next September meeting on this and other matters.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, board members, we have some minutes to approve. There is no additional new business. So these are the minutes for July 16th, 2024. I know you've already had an opportunity
Yeah, I saw them.
to read them, know what you know of, just modifications, changes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Dave?
No.
None? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion?
none.
Okay, all in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved, I'd ask you to please sign it. Okay. And I believe that rounds up our minutes. We're gonna defer the election of officers to next month, well,
A month after.
month after.
Not it.
I thought I could get out of it, but I said next month.
No, next
Maybe
month.
next year.
Okay.
We haven't,
Maybe I need a little more.
Oh, you'll pick it up pretty fast.
Uh,
All right,
Just gotta
so,
memorize that, but it's in
I actually have one at home.
have it on the computer, it's easier.
It is, I use both. But if I'm at work and I want to look up something from Gardner, I can't really do it on my computer.
Oh, it's a work computer.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
No.
I'm not done yet. Aye.
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 Okay, meeting adjourned.